All right. Hello. Welcome, everyone. So we are off the monorails with Jordan, Justin, Ryan here. We have a little podcast, Off the Monorails podcast, as well as some other media and creations that we are pursuing. But this is special. This is a new thing that we're trying out, and we're starting this and premiering this exclusively for our patrons on Patreon. So if you're not, if you want to go check us out, offthemonorails.com, you can become a member and share with friends and family and support the show, support everything we're doing. But here we are premiering the first episode, kind of just discussion, really, freestyle recap and reaction to Ahsoka and the new series uh, on Disney Plus. So. We are here to talk about it. We'll give you a little bit of background. I think this will be a pretty unique discussion, guys, because on our backgrounds are vary in wide range when it comes to Star Wars and everything going
Yeah.
along with it, including Ahsoka. So I think we'll have some unique perspectives. I think this will be actually quite fun to discuss. So. Without further ado, let's just kick it off. Let's get into some discussion and talk about Ahsoka.
Yeah, just as a precursor to this, I'm the noob here. I've watched the original Star Wars trilogy and some of the newer ones, but really up until recently where I just started, coming to Disney with these guys, the most Star Wars I had seen was the Family Guy remakes of it, to be honest. So
Yes.
yeah, just bear with me whenever I'm trying to piece together some of these storylines.
And as for me, I guess I'm the more advanced Star Wars nerd, and have quite a little bit of background with it. So, uh, and then Jordan, probably a couple years behind me, but still knows quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle, but I'm a fan of all the movies and the shows. Kind of in this Star Wars realm, and I big fan of the video games as well. I've played all
Mm-hmm.
of them, which also have started to become part of the canon, really. And
And yep.
so, yeah, it's I'm excited to talk about talk about this. Ahsoka is one of those series I've looked forward to. I think a lot of people look forward to for quite a while. Ever since it was kind of nice to think, that maybe one day we'd see some, live action Ahsoka after seeing her in the Clone Wars and Rebels, but for her to show up in the Mandalorian, it kind of was like, okay, here we are. Like this is
Yeah.
actually possible, and this is actually could be a thing. And then for them to come out and what was it last year 20 uh, 22 they started filming. They announced it in late 2020, early 21 that they were actually going to pursue a full series of Ahsoka, and uh, began filming basically a year and a half later, and here we are, middle of 23 with the premiere episodes, and so if let's before we get into what's happening so far in the series, what Justin, if you want to give us, us a little bit of background on Ahsoka and the character, and a little bit just for the audience, just to make
Yeah.
sure we're all here together.
So to keep it short, Ahsoka is learning to be a Jedi under Anakin Skywalker. During this time, she is a Padawan, so she is advanced enough to be pushed into apprenticeship, if you will, by Yoda's recommendation. So Yoda put her under Anakin specifically and not Obi-Wan for specific reasons that Yoda never actually revealed, in my opinion. Uh, but then, as we all know, Anakin became Darth Vader, and Ahsoka never got to finish her training, felt betrayed, and didn't want to become a Jedi. So she took whatever training she knew and became who she is. just
vigilante.
a vigilante. Yeah, that's actually a really good word for
Yeah.
what she is. And then in the meantime, she was teaching Sabine Wren down the line. Sabine is a Mandalorian by trade, but she is also now learning the ways of the Jedi, quote unquote, by training under Ahsoka, and they have their quarrels. And then we talk about Thrawn, Ezra, all of them. They were lost in a battle. Ezra being part of the team that Ahsoka and Sabine came from. Thrawn being the bad guy, quote unquote. And Ezra and Thrawn are taken into hyperspace, and nobody knows where their location is. Now we're starting with Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So the timeline of this, is this like kind of like post Clone Wars? Or
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's exactly
Yes.
where it's placed. Is
Okay,
Yep.
so I'm getting it.
Now, I do want to place a precursor here. I am not very familiar with the Rebels stuff. I'm still working my way through that, and I don't know all of the clone stuff.
Yeah.
But I know a bulk of the clones stuff. So knowing that, we can go forward.
Gotcha. Yeah. So the series kicks off when we see Ahsoka and part 1, episode 1. Well, let's just start at the very beginning where we see these people come onto this ship and essentially take out everybody in Darth Vader hallway scene style, right?
Oh yeah.
The
Rogue One.
Yes, just straight. It's just that it's
daunting.
quintessential Star Wars scene, right? And we are presented with our first look at Baylan Skull, who is a mercenary, and again one of the quote unquote maybe bad guys of the show here, and they're set out along with his apprentice Shin Hati. They are rescuing, and they're on a rescue mission to rescue Morgan Elsbeth, who had previously been captured by Ahsoka. So they they see out their mission, but Morgan Elsbeth informs them that Ahsoka is looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn and see where he may have been, because she believes that he is still out there. So that's where we open it up. We open also to a scene with Ahsoka looking for a map in this. She's looking for something to help her find the way to Grand Admiral Thrawn in this ancient ruins, and so she gets a star map, this globe figure, and it's locked. She can't read it. So who does she turn to for some help that she hasn't talked to in a few years?
That'll be Sabine Wren.
Yes. So it's been a few years since Sabine walked away, or Ahsoka walked away.
Completely look different and everything.
See whichever path you want to take on that side of things. But yeah, as soon as Sabine gets her hands on the map to try to figure out what it may say or where it may show, then guess who shows up to steal the map away, but none other than Shin Hati. So it becomes a really cool scene because you get, for me, it was like you get a lightsaber battle, kind of a little bit of something going on right away, which is really cool.
Right off.
It's kind of one of those things like you always want to happen. Like, all right, here we go. Some lightsabers are broken out. Like, let's see what happens. And I mean, something kind of monumental happened in the very first episode, right? At the end of this scene,
Sabine got stabbed.
Sabine got stabbed. So that's how it's basically how the episode ends, and we're put into episode 2 or part 2, Toil and Trouble, where Skull and Hati take the map to Morgan Elsbeth, and she explains to them that yes, this is the map to Thrawn, and that he's in another galaxy.
Yeah, yeah,
So
And the importance about Thrawn is like they are trying to bring him back because he had this grand scheme of how he liked to do
yeah, they want to see
Empire work,
they want to see
and
the
they want
Empire
to carry
back.
out they want to carry out that mission.
Yeah,
And it is important that they find him and bring his leadership back
yeah.
ultimately.
Because he can't return under his own power. We're in the position that he's in right now.
yeah,
Right. Well,
yeah.
nobody knew where he's been this whole time. Same with Ezra.
Yeah.
He's in the same boat.
Yeah.
They are lost in hyperspace, but this map had their exact coordinates.
Mhm.
And it was important that they got this map. Now in episode 2, I know we're going to get into this. Episode 2, it got into the wrong hands after the fight with Sabine and what was her name again? Shin
Hati.
Hati.
Yep.
So now it's in her hands, the dark side's hands, and they're using it to find Thrawn. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Jordan. We can
Yeah.
pick up from here.
Yeah. So because you know, this is going to be full of spoilers. This is we're talking about a show that we're watching in real time. So be mindful of that. But you know, Sabine Wren survives the stabbing and recovers and lets Ahsoka know that you know what she found on the map, thanks to help with some droids that attacked her. But they identify that they came from the factories on Corellia. So so Sabine and Ahsoka travel to Corellia, and they discover all these you know things being worked on, including this massive hyperdrive built being built.
Being built, but built not under the Rebel Alliance
Yes, and
invoicing, if
correct. And so when they
you will. No
start to
record
ask
of it.
when they start to ask more and more questions, this is where you know things become a little muddy. They are you know they're starting to ask questions. They won't give them straight responses, and it's here we realize that the allegiance here is still to the Empire.
To the Empire.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so they go on a chase. Syndulla is here with them and travels
General
there with them.
Syndulla. Yep.
And which is a great character to have alive.
And I can I take a moment right here?
Yeah,
I think it's important that we talk about Syndulla because at the same time as Ahsoka and Sabine are still quarreling with each other, they don't really mesh that great right now. The person making it all hold together and be the glue is Syndulla.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
she is helping Ahsoka realize that she needs Sabine and telling Sabine that she needs Ahsoka.
Yep.
Like they complement each other whether they see it or not. She's the glue that's holding it all together, and with her leadership, that's where I think in episode 2 she really shines.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so with Syndulla's help, they're able to put a tracking device on the transport that is escaping.
What a scene that was.
Yes. Well, and can we talk about the details, the sets, the graphic work, everything that they've done with this show, the production value, it really is
there.
It's some
I
of
mean,
the
it's
best
grand.
I've seen for like a Star Wars film.
Yeah, and there's the key word, Ryan. You said
Star
film.
Wars film.
Yeah, and it's a series.
And
It's
this
not
is
even
a
film.
series, right? This is a short series on a streaming platform. It's not a film, and yet it's getting that type of love, that type of attention from production standpoint.
Thank you, Dave Filoni.
Yes, I appreciate the attention to details. It really is, and you see some of these scenes and just like the coloring and just like everything that is being done, it really presents itself so well. And it's you could see that it's done purposely, right? Like you
Yeah,
can really
that's what I
tell.
was about to get to. It's done on purpose because there's so much going on in the Star Wars universe. It's important to realize that there is literally that much of a grand scale going on. So you have to be in the mindset of, yeah, it's a grand, set that they're making, but it's literally done on purpose because it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. And so next part of this episode is we get to see that um that Morgan Elsbeth is contacted by Skull and Hati and Marok, who this masked figure that's with this crew that we don't know who he is yet, and they have obtained the hyperdrive so they can finish building her ship, this Eye of Sion, to find Thrawn, and this will be their vehicle to cross, capable of crossing
Traveling hyperspace that
galaxies.
big, yeah.
Yes, through hyperspace. Um, so yeah, it's one of those where you're waiting to see. It's kind of that same. It almost has the same theme as the Death Star being built
Yeah.
to me, right?
Yeah,
Like
you
where it's
feel
like
that? Yeah.
it's almost ready. Like it's almost done. So like, what can we do to prevent it from happening?
It's literally the last piece they are waiting on.
Yeah.
Like how everything else went undetected is beyond me at this point, but this is literally the last piece, and it's probably the biggest piece of equipment that they're needing, and that's why it's raising so many flags with Syndulla, and that's why we're seeing just how important it is for the Empire to get this piece of equipment out of there, because now that they have a tracking device on them and they know they're being tracked, it's literally a mind game at this point, and playing chess.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is where we're at a point now where we are at different points in our adventure here when it comes to Ahsoka. So Ryan has completed the first couple episodes and is now on part 3. I have finished part 3, and Justin has finished part 4 actually now. So he's up to date as of the newest episode premiering just a couple of days ago on the 5th of September. So we're in an impasse here where we won't be discussing any more of the episodes yet, but I'll ask you guys. I'll let you start, Ryan, since you're the newest and you have the freshest mindset to all this. What is your reaction so far to the series, to the way it's presenting, where it kind of stands for you? You've seen Star Wars, you've seen some of the films. Where does this kind of fall into place? And from the casual fan perspective, is what I'm most interested to hear. Is does this make you want to have more of this show and others like it?
Well, like we just talked about, the production value of it being that it's a series on a streaming platform, the production value is out of this world. So aesthetically, very pleasing, very, very awesome to watch. Maybe from a storyline standpoint, it can be a little confusing because honestly, I feel like I was just kind of hush mouth for the majority of this stream, and you guys were explaining the storyline better than actually watching it could. But that's because you guys have the background knowledge of the setup and some of the build up to these events happening and why they're happening. Because people that are new to it are just seeing it happen out of the blue. They don't know the rhyme or reason behind all of it.
Yeah.
So I could maybe see where a new, maybe casual person that has no idea about the lore of the Star Wars universe, much like the MCU does. If you don't know the lore about it, you're going to be lost for a while until you see 7 or 8 films.
Very much
but
so.
That being said, once I got about halfway through the first episode, I started kind of figuring out who people were, and some look familiar from some previous films I've seen. But I think it's going to be one of those where I'll probably have to watch it through a second time, like the entire series as a whole. I'll probably have to watch it a second time over so I can pick up other things, because there's so much new going on and so many new people. I can't really process it all. But and honestly, that's just because of the fight scenes are awesome. Let's get past that part. The fight scenes are incredible.
Yeah.
All of the action shots, the CGI, it's all insane. But I will, and I am looking forward to finishing the series. Like I don't want to stop. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, did you watch any of the Mandalorian series?
Yes, I did watch. I think I got through. Was it there was 4 episodes that I did of that? So I really need to go back and do my homework on the Mandalorian itself too, and the Book
Yeah.
of Boba
Mhm.
Fett.
I would how
Boba Fett, not so much for this series.
Okay.
how would you compare them as far as like your experience watching the Mandalorian versus so far watching Ahsoka?
Um, Storyline wise, I think the Mandalorian was a little more easy on the eyes, I guess, to figure
Yeah.
out. Because with Ahsoka, there's so many moving parts with betrayal and alliance, and with like the Imperial sympathizers, and they're smuggling these hyperdrives from the superstar destroyers. You're trying to
Mhm.
figure out who's for who, and like if there's any backstabbing going on, and which there is, but yeah, there's so many moving parts to the Ahsoka series, but that's kind of what adds to the suspense and makes me want to finish the series.
I think to add on to what Ryan's talking about is the Mandalorian was easier to pick up because you're talking about a non-existent character that's never been talked about,
Exactly.
and you're starting new with him versus Ahsoka is already an established with a
Yes.
background
Yeah.
character, and we're building forward from what you knew.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate that. I understand that. And there's still more to it that I don't know yet. Uh, as a self-proclaimed Star Wars nerd, like there's still a lot that I have to go back and either freshen up on or learn altogether. So
Yeah.
I get where you're coming from on that as far as Ahsoka comes from. Now I did want to bring this up because it's actually a good question, and it's about how Ryan being so new, not knowing about it, and the casual watcher doesn't really know much about Ahsoka's background. Did y'all notice that they didn't do like the classic Star Wars script before leading into the film?
Yes. Yeah, they did the iconic scene of the ship passing over the
Right.
camera for the opening scene, but yeah, they didn't
They
do
didn't do that layout of the
this.
buildup of
Yeah.
what got us here.
Yeah.
I was shocked about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting choice.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that, people, if you're watching this, I hope we didn't spoil it for you, but you were warned prior. But you need to at least watch the long episodes, the 2 long episodes of the Clone Wars. If not the second movie in the original trilogy. So Attack of the Clones. Make sure you watch that, and then watch the animated series from the Clone Wars, and that should get you caught up and give you some better background information. I actually brushed up on it today with those 2 episodes. It's about 2 hours in total, but definitely recommend doing that.
Yeah. And really just like a little bit of an asterisk here. Going into this series blind, really the only bit of information that I have carried over from my previous Star Wars intake was that Thrawn was like a military tactician for Palpatine previously.
Right.
Yes.
That is all I knew about any of the characters in this series at this point. So I can't wait to actually tomorrow I'm going to go ahead and get caught up in these other 2 episodes so we can try and get to 3 and 4 on our next one.
So it's actually funny. I just thought about this too. The second season of The Mandalorian, towards the end of it, it's important because I know Ryan hasn't watched it yet. Now, it's important that Ryan, you watch that, and our listeners watch that as well before starting Ahsoka, because there is a specific episode where you're going to see some familiar faces.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm
I
going
don't
on
wanna
a
ruin
bender
it.
for the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The Mandalorian actually ties well into Ahsoka very well.
Yes. Same
Boba
timeline.
Fett, not so much. Boba Fett ties into the Mandalorian well because of their connection, but it doesn't do the same for Boba Fett and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just know that.
I'm going to go ahead and call it that at some point in this series before we finish up Ahsoka and doing these reviews. You're going to see that little tiny Christmas tree bulb light up on top of my head. Like,
Yes.
wait a minute, I get it now. So
Yeah.
we'll
It
have
will
that
happen with that
aha
Mandalorian
moment.
episode. I
Yeah.
promise you.
Okay, well, it sounds like I need to do my homework.
Yeah. Yeah. What's nice to me is that how, even though that this is, even though this may feel foreign to, a newcomer, like Ryan, right? This is still an approachable series so far.
Yeah.
It can still get the casual fan interested to see what happens next,
And
which I
then
think
they'll
is
go
super
back.
important.
Yeah.
Correct. Gain genuine interest. When you think about it in comparison to the Mandalorian, where, like you mentioned, where it was you had the original story there, right? You had this original character. So much of that series, especially the first season, is so much built on character development and creating this sense of, I want to feel and know what this character is going to do next. And so that had so much leaning that way. So it's slower to develop. You go through different situations further. You had this relationship with this baby Yoda, of like, what is this? Where did it come from?
Right.
How is it linked? All that jazz. You kind of had that mystery of all that happening too, and coinciding. You haven't had that quite yet with Ahsoka, right? Like,
Right.
you have this mystery of, okay, well, where's Thrawn? But then, like, to Ryan's point, it's like, there may be someone
Who's Thrawn?
yeah, who's going to say, all right, who the hell is Thrawn? So I'm interested to see how it continues to develop in a way that hopefully continues to capture the general audience attention and casual attention, and create more and more interest.
Yeah, I will say my advice for newcomers will, of course, take Justin's advice and brush up on the Mandalorian beforehand, but be patient with the storyline. Let it come to you. Rewatch episodes if you need to, if you didn't quite get it.
There's a lot going on.
Look around on the screen. Don't stay dialed in on one thing. Try to
and listen to the dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. Just be patient with it and let the story come to you, because it will.
Yeah. There's some really cool things scenery wise too, like little Easter eggs kind of thrown in there.
I was literally about to comment on that. Dave Filoni is famous for that with the animated stuff and what he's doing now with the short series stuff. And Jon Favreau, we love him. You love him with what he's done with MCU. He's doing the same with Star Wars. He's a mastermind. Love him and Dave Filoni doing Star Wars justice. Number one, first and foremost. Now, there's a lot of Easter eggs that mean something, and there's some that don't really mean anything, but it's there for the nerd to just get their rocks off. So, it's just one of them things where nerds can geek out a little bit in some instances. But it's important that you pay attention and listen. Use those senses more than anything, because there's so much going on in the galaxy of Star Wars. Like, you could get lost in the sauce so easy. I was that person at one point. It's going to happen. You're going to hit those plateaus, but trust me, when it comes full circle and you start pinning things and putting the timeline together and how things and who knows who and who's worked for who, it's crazy. It's literally like a space Western. Like a badass Johnny Cash style. Like, it's cutthroat for Star Wars.
Yeah, well, the Mandalorian specifically was shot
specifically
in
the
that style.
Mandalorian. Yeah,
This galaxy ain't big enough for the two of us.
and the Mandalorian was such a big series for that reason, because it started tying up loose ends for the canon.
Yeah.
That a lot of people had questions on. And honestly, I think that's why these series that spawned off are doing so well, because they're short versions of it, and they tell a lot of information quicker than the 2 to 3 hour films. And I think that's an attractive thing for people to consume and stay focused on versus the 3 hour saga films.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just excited in general to just continue having these discussions, continuing to see how the story develops, and continuing to see just again. I really enjoy the multiple perspectives that we each have regarding this. So
there's nothing wrong with being new.
Yeah, looking forward to more and more of these discussions. And again, thank you to our patrons. And this is an exclusive premiere for all of our patrons on our Patreon. And we look forward to continue more of this series and others like it. So let us know what you thought of this. Let us and give us your feedback. And hopefully we can do some more things like this in the near future. So until next time, we'll sign off, and we'll see you out on our socials. Go follow us. Go listen to the podcasts on your favorite podcast platform, Off the Monorails Podcast. If you want to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, X, Threads, you name it, we're there at Off the Monorails. So go check us out. If you're seeing this video already as a patron, you probably followed us on a platform or two. So appreciate the support. And we appreciate you guys so much for sticking around and listening. So until next time, we'll catch you later. I'm Jordan.
Yep. I'm Justin.
And I'm Ryan.
This is Off the Monorails.
And may the force be with you.
And with you as well.